Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Supadantikam Mandeham Shri Gurum Shri Udapatagamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsa Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Vidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaidam Savadudam Parijana Saidam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shivishakam Vidam Sha Ye Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanda Radha Kanda Namostude Tapta Kanjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिने नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे गुरुवे गौरचंद्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्ण भक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो हरे कृष्ण हरि ओम तत्सत्. So we are reading from Mukundmala by Kulashekar Alvar. We are reading Stotra 5 onwards. नास्तधर्मेण वसुनिचयेनैव कामोपभोगे यद्भाव्यं तद्भवतु भगवान् पूर्वकामानुरूपम् एतत् प्रार्थ्यं मम बहुमतं जन्म जन्मनान्तरेऽपि त्वत्पादाम्भोरुह युगगता निश्चल भक्तिरस्तु. हरे कृष्णा.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah. Yeah, Prabhuji, can you please read? Recite this sloka. Yes, Hare Krishna. Prince Prabhu, you want to recite this sloka?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. Mukundmala Sloka 5. Nasta dharme na vasu nichaye navya kamobhoge yad bhavyam tad bhavatu bhagavan purva karmanu puam etat parthyam mama bahumatam janma janmatrepi त्वत् पदम बोरुहा योगा गता निश्चला भक्तिर अस्तु.
Very good. Sachi Mataji, you want to recite this sloka?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, pranams. नाष्टधर्मेण वसु निश्चयनैव कामपो भगे यद्भाव्यं तद्भवतु भगवान् पूर्वकर्मानुरूपम् एतत् प्रार्थ्यं मम बहुमदं जन्म जन्मान्तरेऽपि त्वत्पादाम्भोरुह युगगदा निश्चलं भक्तिरस्तु.
Very good. Oh my Lord, I have no attachment for religiosity or for accumulating wealth or for enjoying sense gratification. Let these come as they inevitably must, in accordance with my past deeds. But I do pray for this most cherished boon, birth after birth. Let me render unflinching devotional service unto your two lotus feet. So Kulashekar Alvar is praying to Lord, the Supreme Lord, that I have no attachment whatsoever for religiosity, for accumulating wealth, for enjoying sense gratification. This is not what I want. I'm not interested, nor do I have any taste for following the religious principles, this and that, and accumulating wealth. Because we know that usually the Purushartha is what? Dharma. We are following Dharma for what? Artha, Kama, and Moksha. So this is the purpose, or this is the reason that why we follow Dharma. So he is telling, I have no interest in that. No Dharma, no Artha, no Kama, no Moksha. That's not what I want. Then what do you want? Let this come as they inevitably must in accordance with my past. Let it happen according to my past karma. Whatever I am destined to get, let me get it. Now, I don't want to specifically endeavor for that. But I do pray. So, but I want to pray for what? The most cherished boon. I want a blessing, so boon, benediction from you. What is that benediction? Birth after birth. Janma Janmantare. Let me render unflinching devotional service unto your two lotus feet. So, what is unflinching means? Without any deviation, without any other thought. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paripasare. Ananya chinta. Okay, I have no personal agenda in worshipping you. So this is what I am praying for. I want to have unflinching devotional service unto your two lotus feet. So this is my only prayers. I don't want any wealth. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim. Okay. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim. I don't want any wealth. Okay. Na janam, any followers. Sundarim. Okay. And any women. I don't want to enjoy any of this. But I do pray for unflinching devotional service unto your two lotus feet, birth after birth. Even if I have to take birth again and again, but please do not make me forget this devotional service unto your two lotus feet. This is only pray. This is the only prayers that I want to put in front of you, put forth in front of you. So this is what Kulashekar Alvar says. So human beings advance toward God consciousness when they go beyond the gross materialist life of eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating and begin to develop moral and ethical principles. So who are advancing towards God consciousness, Krishna consciousness. So they go beyond the gross materialistic life of eating, mating, sleeping, and defending. That is Ahara, Nidra, Bhaya, Maithuna. These are the common activities every living being does. Isn't it? These are common. Whether they be human beings, animals, birds, aquatics, worms, whatever it is, whichever category they are. So these four items everybody does. These four activities. Ahara, Nidra, Bhaya, Maithuna. Okay? Eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. But those who are advancing in Krishna consciousness, God consciousness, they will slowly and gradually, go beyond this eating, mating, sleeping, and defending, and begin to develop moral and ethical principles. Okay? So when they go beyond this, they will develop moral and ethical principles. Okay? These principles develop further into religious consciousness, leading to an imaginary conception of God without any practical realization of the truth. Slowly and gradually, it will further advance to religious consciousness, then to God consciousness. So in God consciousness, the preliminary stage is imaginary conception of God without any practical realization of it. So in the preliminary stage, we have faith in God, but we don't have the understanding or knowledge that God is a person. So that as you advance spiritually, you will come to that knowledge. So these stages of God consciousness are called religiosity, which promises material prosperity of various degrees. So this is this consciousness, this God consciousness, the preliminary stage of God consciousness is called religiosity dharma, which promises material prosperity. So initially, we all follow religiosity for material prosperity. Okay, artha, kama, moksha. Then, in varying degrees, people who develop this conception of religiosity perform sacrifices, giving charity, and undergo different types of austerity and penance, all with a view toward being rewarded with material prosperity. So, to meet these desires, to fulfill all these desires, what do? They perform sacrifices, give charity, undergo different types of austerities and penance. For what? With a view toward being rewarded with material prosperity. So, what is material prosperity? We want good health, good family, wealth, followers, okay, name, fame, all these things. These are all material prosperity. So the ultimate goal of such so-called religious people is sense gratification of various kind. So why do we want this? This is a sort of sense gratification. Sense gratification on different degrees. What is it? Different degrees means I want to satisfy my senses, my bodily demands, my bodily desires. Then extended sense gratification. Okay, my wife, my husband, my children, they should have good education, they should have good car, good house, good position. Okay, then again, further extension, apart from family, my friends should have good sense of gratification, the society, the nation, it goes like that. Okay? So, these are all sense gratification in different degrees, various kinds. For sense gratification, material prosperity is necessary, and therefore they perform religious rituals with a view toward the resultant material name, fame, and gain. So these are all, how do we get this material prosperity? By praying to various demigods. By praying to various demigods, we get material prosperity. So these are all called fruitive activities. Fruitive activities. Why fruitive activities? When you do something, you expect something in return. So you go to the temple, you offer something, some fruit, some flowers, or some money in charity in the undi. Then you pray to Supreme Lord, oh Lord, please give me a good wife, good husband, or good job, okay, good family members, wealth, this and that. So you put something in the hundi and return you ask so many things. This is called fruitive activities. Okay. So for what? For name, fame, and gain. So we want wealth, we want material gain for enjoying our senses. And enjoying our senses, that means my senses and the extended senses. So, but genuine religion is different. In Sanskrit, such genuine religion is called dharma, which means essential quality of the living entity. So dharma means essential quality of the living entity, not the dharma or religiosity which we conduct for material gain. So that is a different connotation. Okay, this is essential quality of living entity, dharma. Okay, dharma of the sugar. What is the dharma of sugar? Sweetness, right? That's if sugar says tomorrow onwards I will not give you sweetness. So is it fulfilling the dharma? No. Similarly, salt, giving salty taste. Okay. So similarly, what is our dharma? Jivere Swarupa hoy Krishnara Nityadas. Okay. Our dharma is to be the eternal servant of Krishna. So essential quality of living being. The Shastras say that the essential quality is to render eternal service, and the proper object of service is the Supreme Truth, Lord Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead. So that is our dharma. To please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, the absolute truth. The eternal transcendental service of the Lord is misdirected under material conditions and takes the shapes of the aforementioned religiosity economic development, sense gratification, salvation, or the attempt to negate all material variegations of out of frustration. So our dharma, the dharma of living entities, is to be eternally the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Jivera Swarupai, Krishnara, Nityadas. Okay. But when it is misdirected, when this actual dharma is misdirected, we take shelter of the ordinary dharma. This is religiosity, then economic development, that is artha, sense gratification, kama, salvation, mukti. Or people negate all this. Everything is void. We don't want. So genuine religion, however, does not culminate in either economic development, sense gratification, or salvation. The perfection of religion is to attain complete satisfaction of the spirit soul, and this is accomplished by rendering devout service to the Lord, who is beyond the perception of the material senses. Okay, so the living entity has to satisfy the senses of the Supreme Lord instead of satisfying their senses. So for that, we have to we have to have unflinching faith and render unmotivated, uninterrupted devotional service to the Supreme. When the living being directs his eternal service attitude toward the eternal Supreme Being, such service can never be hampered by any sort of material hindrance. Such transcendental service is above even salvation, and therefore it certainly does not aim at any kind of material reward in the shape of name, fame, or gain. So one who engages in the transcendent loving service of the Supreme Being automatically attains detachment from material name, fame, and gain, which are aspired for only by those who do not understand that this name, fame, and gain are merely shadows of the real thing. Okay. So Prabhupada says here, one who engages in the transcendental loving service, whoever is rendering transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord, automatically what they attain? Detachment from material name, fame, and gain. When we develop devotional service attitude towards the Supreme Absolute Truth, so what is the result of that? Slowly and gradually, we will get detached from our fruitive activities, and we will not be interested in name, fame, and gain. Okay. These are aspired for only by those who do not understand that this name, fame, and gain merely shadows of the real thing. This is all perverted reflection or shadow of the real aspirations. Material name, fame, and gain are only perverted reflections of the substance. It's perverted reflection. It is not the real thing. Okay, we see a tree. Okay, the reflection of a tree on a lake. Okay, the tree is just on the edge of the lake. Okay, standing. So the shadow reflects in the water. So the shadow is real? It's not real. It's a reflection. Similarly, we think that the gain, the material gain, the name, fame, these are all real. These are not real. Why? Because it is temporary. It is there for some time. Okay. This name, fame, deteriorates, and if at all it will remain only as long as we are there in this world. The moment we leave the body, the name, the fame, everything goes. Your possessions, everything goes. Everything is snatched away immediately. Okay. See, just all take any so-called materially rich people, materially famous people. How many of them we are remembering now? Just 100 years, 200 years, 300 years before, so many rich materialistics were there. But are we remembering all of them? No. But do you remember Krishna? 5,000 years back he came. Still we are discussing about him. The same Krishna, the same Leelas, we are repeatedly discussing because we don't get bored. We don't get, this every time we are listening to the same story, the same butter thief story, the same Narasimhavadara, the same Vamanavadara. No. Each and every time we discuss about these Leelas, we get rejuvenated, we get enlivened, we get fresh, newer and newer realizations. We enjoy that. That's why in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Mat chitta mad gada prana bodhayanda parasparam kathayandasya mam nityam tushyanti charamandicha. Okay, when devotees come together, they discuss about my topics, my leelas, because they relish by discussing my leelas. Okay, and they find rejuvenating, enthusiastic, relishment in that. So, discussing about material personalities, discussing about the activities of the Supreme Lord, okay, which is better? The material personalities, we will not be able to, for example, we like one particular movie. How many times will we see that? Once, twice, thrice, 5 times, 10 times? Not beyond that, isn't it? You get the newspaper every day. Today we will read it. Tomorrow it will be used for prasadam, for saving prasadam. Isn't it? You won't keep it. Or you will give to the people who collect these old newspapers. You don't even preserve it. The novels, the stories, the magazines, you may keep for some time because it is in book form. But after some time, it's not necessary. What I will do with that? You will just give it away to some other people who needs it for them to read and spoil their head. Yes, but whereas Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, other literatures, how do we keep it? We keep it, it's very safe, nicely protected with respect. It's sad that some people, they cover it nicely with red, cloth and all, but they don't open and read it. They do arati every day. They do arati to Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, but they don't open it and read. They will keep it as it is. Bhagavad Gita as it is. Okay. So that's it. So anything material, it deteriorates. Okay. The value of that deteriorates. But anything spiritual, it increases. So one who engages in the transcendental loving service of Supreme Being automatically attains detachment, which we read. Okay. Yeah, only perverted reflections of substance, the name, fame, and opulence of the Lord. Therefore, the pure devotees of the Lord, Vasudeva, enlightened by the transcendental service attitude, has no attraction for such false things as religion, economic development, sense gratification, or salvation. The last snare of Maya. Okay. So this is the last snare of Maya, because the actual devotees, they will not have any interest or attraction for these 4 things. Knowing well that these are all temporary, this is not going to benefit me at all. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. This is not going to benefit me devotionally, spiritually. They know it very well. The devotees know it. So the purpose of performing real religion is to attain attachment for hearing and chanting of the messages of the kingdom of God. So why do we perform religion? So that we get attached to the message of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Devadanam. So these are the 9 types of devotional activities, devotional limbs recommended by Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj instructs his classmates that we should do Navavidha Bhakti. So by doing Navavidha Bhakti, we'll get attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we'll get the taste for loving devotee service. Materialistic people are attached to ordinary newspapers on account of their lack of spiritual consciousness. So as I told you, those materially inclined, they are attached to newspapers, magazine, okay, and novels and stories like that. All literatures with material content. Where we stopped.
Prabhu, the religion developed the spiritual consciousness. Here,
Yeah.
Prabhu, that
Just
real
on
religion.
account of their lack of spiritual consciousness.
Above that paragraph, yeah.
Real religion develops this spiritual consciousness and also attachment for the messages of God, without which all labor in the performance of religious rites is only a waste of energy. So if you are not developing devotee's attitude to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all our energy is waste. All our energy is waste. Therefore, one should not practice religion with the aim of improving one's economic welfare, nor should one use one's wealth for sense gratification, nor should the frustration of one's plan for sense gratification lead one to aspire to salvation or liberation from material conditions. So Prabhupada is very clearly says our energy should not be misdirected, misused. It doesn't mean that we should not live. Doesn't mean that you don't have the facilities or comfort level, but everything you should be used for furthering our devotional activities to Supreme Lord. So whatever we need for our sustenance, for developing Krishna consciousness, we can accept it, we can enjoy that, there's no problem. But the intention should be to further our Krishna conscious activities, not for sense gratification. So instead of indulging in sense gratification of different grades with the fruits of one's labor, one should work just to maintain the body and soul together with the aim of inquiring into the ultimate aims and objects of life. So the instruction is clear. Instead of sense gratification, we should just try to maintain the body and soul together, not over-acquire or overeat, over-endeavor. All these things should not be there. In Nectar of Instruction, Upadeshamrita, Rupa Goswami says, Atyahara prayasasya prajalpo niyamagraha jana sangasya lavlyamcha shadbir bhaktir vinashyadi. Atyahara. Okay. What is Atyahara means? Over-acquiring, more than required. Okay. We need roti kapda makan, right? We need a house, we need something to eat. Okay, we need clothes to wear. This is all necessary. It's not that. So how many pairs of dress we need? How many pairs of shoes? How many pairs of how many bags we want? Okay. How many saris? How many pants, shirts? Just a limit, no? Some people have almara full of clothes. Jasashi Prabhu was telling the other day that anything that you have not used for 6 months, it doesn't belong to you. Anything that you have not used for the last 6 months, it doesn't belong. Why? We don't require it in the first place. We are just accumulating again and again, thinking that in future we will use it. So if that thing has not come in use for last 6 months, that means doesn't belong to you. So,
Arishna Prabhu.
yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, I was seeing one talk show
Yeah.
shorts. One lady is telling she is having a house only for her saris. Only for her saris. She's the, I think, serial actress or something. One house separately for only keeping saris, and the discussion was only about that, Prabhu.
So this is material aspirations. She is thinking that she is going to take all these saris when she goes. So here, Prabhupada very clearly says we should acquire just to maintain the body and soul together. Not overeating, not over-acquiring. What is required that we should. Because the main problem is the, the greed of the human beings to acquire more and more. Prabhupada very nicely says that story. When you leave a sack of rice on the street, the birds will come and pick some few grains and go away, fly away. If a person passes by that road, he picks that whole sack of rice, put it on his shoulder and take home. So we want to accumulate, we want to preserve it for tomorrow. So that's why there is no proper distribution in this world. So some are starving, some are enjoying materially, okay? Because they have accumulated again and again and again. So this habit we should stop, and on the contrary, we should acquire, or we should use, or we should, aspire only for those things and facilities that are needed to maintain the body and soul together, with the aim of inquiring into the ultimate aims of the objects of life. Athato Brahma Jitnyasa. The Vedanta Sutra starts with this aphorism, Athato Brahma Jitnyasa. Now let me inquire about the Supreme Absolute Truth. That should be our aim, because having received this very rare human form of life, it's our prime duty to inquire, who am I, who God is, what is his nature, what is Prakriti, what is karma, what is my relationship with the Supreme Lord. This should be our inquiry. Not that how can I earn more money, how can I cheat others, how can I make name and fame in this material world, how can I enjoy my senses. This will come automatically as per my karma. But the prime inquiry should be, who am I, who is God, what is my relationship with the God, and how I can re-establish that relationship. So this should be our inquiry. That is possible only in the human form of life. And this human form of life is very rarely achieved. Very rarely, because 84 lakhs, 8,400,000 species of lives are there. So going through this many species of life multiple times, at last we have received this human body. So if you don't utilize this human body to know who am I, who God is, and how I can re-establish the relationship with the God, how I can go back home, back to God, we are all fools. That's what Prabhupada says. Ultimate aims of and objects of life. Ultimate aim. There are many, all of us have the immediate ambition, immediate aim. Okay. Some of them want to get a good job, some of them want to pass the exam, some of them want to get some good house. These are all immediate ambitions. But what is the ultimate aim, ultimate goal? The ultimate goal is to go back home, back to God. So that should be the primary importance. Other things will come as it has to come according to our destiny. So the absolute truth is realized in three phases, namely the impersonal Brahman, the localized Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So as we have discussed this earlier, Brahmedi Paramatmeti Bhagwan Iti Sabhyade. Okay, the absolute truth has three aspects: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. So the person who has the knowledge of Brahman only, it's an incomplete understanding. Second, the person who knows the Paramatma, Brahman and Paramatma, that's also incomplete. But the person who has the knowledge of Bhagwan has all the three, knows all the three aspects. It is a complete understanding. So realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead automatically prays as King Kulashekara does here. Only one who renders devotional service to the Lord can attain this stage of indifference to the false and temporary assets of material nature. Okay. Such devotional service is not a mental concoction of depraved persons, but is an actual process of God realization. So this is not a mental concoction. What is mental concoction? Speculation. Okay. It's not concoction or speculation, but this is the process of God realization. Actual process of God realization characterized by full cognizance and detachment and based on the Vedic literature. Okay, what is that? Jnana Vairagya. Based not on mental concoction but on the basis of Vedic knowledge, Vedic literature. So-called devotional practices that have no reference to the rules and regulations set down in such books of Vedic literature as the Shruti, Smriti, the Puranas, and the Pancharatras are not bona fide. So we cannot manufacture any rules and regulations, religious codes. Dharmantu sakshat bhagavad pranidam. Dharmantu sakshat bhagavad pranidam. Okay, the dharma, the religious codes are given by Supreme Lord. We cannot manufacture. Can we manufacture? Yes, we can manufacture some civil laws, state laws. Okay, and we know that all these state laws, the man-made laws, has its own flaws. Okay, shortcomings. But the laws of the Lord, Supreme Lord, is flawless. Okay, it should be based on scriptures. Like what scriptures? Shruti, Smriti, Puranas, and Pancharatma. So it should be based on these Vedic literatures. Otherwise, they are not bona fide. We cannot make any rules and regulations. Rules and regulations are given in the scriptures, and these are all categorized like Shruti, Smriti, Puranas, and Pancharatras. So the self-realized souls advise us to reject such pseudo-devotional practice, which simply create a disturbance on the path of spiritual realization. So there are acharyas, the pure devotees of Supreme Lord. Okay, they guide us, they instruct us to reject any pseudo-devotional service. Pseudo means just trying to act, imposter. That is imposters. Pseudo. They are not real. They are just acting. They put on the attire. For example, a doctor. Okay. The doctor has a uniform. From that we can make out he is a doctor, she is a doctor. We can make out from the uniform itself. But that person is not a doctor. Simply putting the dress, can she or he become doctor? Simply by putting the uniform, they cannot. Similarly, we also putting the Vaishnava dress, kurta, panjagacha, tilak, kanthimala, externally, but internally we are gross materialist. What's the use? So similarly, so you cannot make your own rules and regulations, but we should follow the rules and regulations given by the Supreme Lord through the authentic scriptures and by following bona fide sampradaya. That's also given by the Supreme Lord. That will only help us. Otherwise, we are cheating. That's why it is pseudo-devotional practices, which simply create disturbance on the path of spiritual realization. Now, it will be a disturbance to the society if anybody does such, imposter business, pseudo business. It will be a disturbance to the society. So we should be very careful not to follow such pseudo transcendentalists. Only by sincerely engaging in the service of the Lord, according to the injunctions of scriptures, can one gradually become a qualified devotee of the Lord. And it does not matter whether it takes many repetitions of birth and death, life after life. So what we should do? We should follow in the footsteps of the acharyas. Mahajana enagathaso pantha. We should follow in the footsteps of acharyas who come in the bona fide discipline succession. Okay. What is the meaning of Acharya? Hmm? What is the meaning of Acharya?
A self-realized soul, Prabhu.
Yeah, self-realized soul. Then definition. What other definition? One who lives by example. One who practices what he preaches. Okay. One who practices what he preaches. Now there are so many people who preaches but doesn't practice. Sanatana Goswami tells Haridas Thakur, there are many people who preaches but doesn't practice. There are many people who practices but doesn't preach. But you are such a devotee who practices and at the same time preaches also. So Acharya is one who lives by his example. So we should follow in the footsteps of our Acharyas, Mahajana Ena Kathaso Panta, in their footsteps. Not that we make our own rules and regulation and declare that this is the ultimate rules and regulation, ultimate dharma one should know. Who are we to manufacture rules and regulation? No. This is not a small company where you make some policies, some rules and regulation for the staff and other employees. It's not a small company. So even then, it may be to manage few employees of the company. There also you make so many mistakes and flaws, isn't it? In that policies also, you won't be doing justice there also, because we are not perfect. So whether it takes many repetitions of birth and death, life after life. So we should gradually become a qualified devotee of the Lord. So even if it has to take many births and many lives, our ambition should be to qualify, to become a qualified, to become a devotee of the Supreme Lord. Okay, that should be our ambition. So even if it has to take lives after lives, our ambition should not change. So this is what Prabhupada says here very clearly. So this is Stotra number 5, right? Now, I think we'll stop here. We will not be able to complete the next sloka. So we'll stop here. Mancha kalpata rubhesya kripa sindhubhyevacha patidanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo. Ananta kodi Vaishnavi ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. So